Good morning. Welcome back to Coffee and Colorful Conversation. Let me just grab something to put my microphone up a little higher. Give me 1 second. I noticed last week I tried to get a little too fancy and my sound was awful. So hopefully this sounds better today. So, first of all, I want to make sure that I say happy holidays. I hope everyone had a healthy, number one, healthy and happy holiday and great time spent with family, doing things that you love and not working too much, like I talked about last week, like I always did. So it was very relaxing for me. Yesterday, I took myself to a movie. It was wonderful. I haven't done that in a long time. Just random. I listened to a podcast. The podcast was Oprah Winfrey and Jamie Kern Lima, two people who I admire and are very motivating. And they were talking about the new Color Purple. I didn't realize that they redid it. I thought that they were just bringing it back like all the other things they're bringing back. I saw Night Court is back, and there's a lot of shows they're bringing back. I feel like this generation of people in Hollywood don't have an original thought, but it was an excellent movie. It was more of a musical version. Packed. The theater was packed. I was a little paranoid about getting sick because there's a lot going around. That's why I said happy, healthy holidays. It seems like everybody has a little something. So, the theme of today's chat is what will 2024 look like if you don't change anything? It's easy to get caught up in the holiday festivities and, celebrate the end of the year. There's this feeling of completion of another year of, it's either, wow, that was great, or, oh, thank God it's over. For me, I enjoyed 2023. It was a very good year. I got to do some amazing travel, but it didn't happen by accident. And that's what I wanted to share with all of you today, that things, when you have a good year, it's because you had the intention of having a good year and you planned to do things a little bit differently so that it would be a good year. We can all go on autopilot. We all have our moments. Some of us, it lasts longer than others. We can get into these funks where we just roll along and live our life as it comes to us. And there's a balance, right? We want to allow for things to happen organically. Like for me, I'm too much of a planner and too much of a control freak. So I have my entire year right now at this minute. Every single month, I have something on my calendar that's planned for that month. That's what gives me peace of mind. My husband, when he sees a full calendar, starts to get anxiety about the fullness of the calendar. I get empty calendar anxiety. So the fact that we're still together after 32 years is nothing short of a miracle, but it works. They say opposites attract. So I look ahead and I say, okay, what can I do in January to move my business forward? What can I do in February to move my business forward? March, April, May, etc. You get the picture. But if I did not do that, I could easily just let the whole month of December or January go and say, oh, it's the beginning of the year. I'm tired from last year. I just want to relax. It's a beautiful time of year here in Florida. It's not real humid. I could go to the beach every single day and just take my foot off the gas, right? But when I look at my numbers and I reflect on 2023, the reason that I had a great year is because I paid attention. I paid attention to the numbers. I paid attention to events that I wanted to host and do. It all was, I am sole proprietor. I'm my own business, just me. So I don't have a boss saying, you have to have this paper in by this time and you have to do this, class on this date. Like I create those things. And sometimes I can get a little crazy and fill my schedule too much. So for me, it's pulling back is more difficult than pushing forward. But I wanted to share something about goals and reaching them. I have always worked with a coach. I've had several different coaches. And my current coach, I said to her, I said something about a goal, and she said, well, what's the worst thing that can happen is you'll fail. And I said, but I haven't experienced that. Like every goal I've ever set, I've made. And she said, well, your goals aren't big enough. And I was like, oh, she's right. Because every year I compete with myself. I look at the year before and I say to myself, I want to make sure that I do at least $25,000 more next year than I did this year. That's always been my goal. And I've hit it because it's really not that big of a goal when you think about it. So I agree with her. I was playing too small and I was making my goals so doable that I was like, oh, I'm so successful. I hit all of my goals. Well, I'm not making them big enough. So this year I made a ridiculous goal. And the reason I'm sharing that with you is as I was writing it, I was embarrassed to write it. I was at an event where people could see your paper kind of thing. And I was like, I'm embarrassed to put that number down on paper because it's so crazy. And I put it down anyway. And what happened was, no, I didn't hit it. Do I feel like a failure? Absolutely not. I'm proud of myself that I made that goal so crazy that I even made it a real goal. And I really wasn't that far off. I mean, yes, I was far off, but not that far off. Like it actually pushed me to go further than my usual 25,000 effortlessly because the bigger crazy number seems so crazy that I was like, anything will be better than nothing. And I ended up pushing myself to a 32% increase that I've never done before. So by stretching that goal, I had to turn it in my mind as if I don't hit that goal, I'm not a failure. I'm still reaching for a higher thing that's really, really high. And it's motivating me to push myself, but yet not making me feel like I failed because it was such a crazy number. Does that make sense? So, my question for you is, did you have a goal in this year, 2023? Do you even take the time to make goals? Because honestly, I never did. I always was like, as long as I'm busy in the salon and I don't have any big holes in my book and I'm getting good tips and I'm able to pay for dinners out that I want to go to, I'm good. I never really made a monetary goal, a percentage goal. I never really did that. I always just wanted to make sure that it was more than the year before. Honestly, it was that simple, but it was better than nothing. So I see a lot of people say, if I share that I traveled, I took an entire month off in May. That was a huge goal for me. And that was a huge thing to be able to do and still maintain, my business and not be able to pay my bills. But it took planning. And people would say, oh, must be nice to be able to do that. I'm like, yeah, you can too. Like anyone can do that. What you need to do is plan for it. So in 2024, I was talking to somebody at a wedding and she said, oh my gosh, I saw that you went to Hawaii. That's, that's my dream to go to Hawaii. I, I hope I can maybe go there next year. And I said, listen to how you just said that. I'm going all Tony Robbins on her at a wedding. I was like, you just said, I hope that I maybe can. Change that to, I plan to go to Hawaii next year, or I'm going to Hawaii next year. Just say it as if it's happening. And all of a sudden, things will fall into place. And all of a sudden, you're there and you have the flower lei around your neck and things are happening. When I went to Hawaii, I was able to find a beautiful condo on the beach in Maui, and it was $125 a night. So, yes, I went to Hawaii. Yes, I spent a lot of time there, but it was less than going for me to the Jersey Shore. And everybody goes to the Jersey Shore because they're like, oh, I could never afford Hawaii. And I'm like, take a look at that. Next time you go to your beach that you always go to, add up the rides on the boardwalk if you have small kids, the pizza on the boardwalk, the family ice cream nights, all of those things. You could go to Hawaii, I promise you. You get a credit card that gives you miles. I have a ton of miles in American Express because I have bills to pay. So why not pay them on the credit card, pay it off each month and get those points for miles? It's just planning for it to make it happen. It's not being rich to be able to travel, in my opinion. Like, I don't consider myself rich and I travel a lot because that is a priority. I know women who have $3,000 handbags that boo-hoo that they can't go on vacation. A handbag holds your keys, your money, and your phone. Like it doesn't need to be $3,000. And if that's your priority and that makes you happy, no shade. Like have your $3,000 handbag, but don't begrudge someone who loves to travel from going on a trip that they want to go on because you spent the money on the handbag. Like there's a trade-off. So it's all about planning. And I want to hear from you. Do you have a plan for 2024? Just type yes or no if you have a plan. Do you have goals? Do you have income goals? Do you have anything that's on your bucket list that you are determined to do in 2024? So Mary said, I'm going to Peru on my credit card miles. That's awesome. Are you going to do the hike, Mary? I hope you and Bryn hooked up. I know you guys were chatting about it. So I see some yeses. I see some nos. So I want you to reflect on 2023, and that's going to inspire you to plan better for 2024 because it's never too late to do something different. It's never too late to change the way you're doing things. So if you're like me and your tip money is going to treating everybody in the salon to Starbucks, buying everybody lunch here and there, when you're in a generous mood, spending it on, trips to Marshall's for things that you don't need. That was me. I was constantly spending money on things that I didn't need to fill a void because I wanted to really be on a vacation, but I would spend it on something, completely unnecessary at Marshall's or TJ Maxx. So did you reach your goals for 2023? Yes or no? Are you further ahead in 2023 than you were in 2022? Yes or no? And you don't have to look up actual numbers. You know in your heart if you're further ahead this year than you were last year. That's something that you can just simply check in with yourself and say, yes, I am. No, I'm not. And be honest with yourself because nobody's checking your report card. It's just you. Like I said, I compete with myself. I don't say I want to make more money than all of my siblings in 2024. I don't even know what my siblings are doing and they don't know what I'm doing. And that's another tip there. Don't pay attention to what anyone else is doing or you will never reach your goals. Because what you think that they're doing when you're peeking over your shoulder and think that they're doing more than you're doing, they're either just really good at telling stories or they have the handbag that looks expensive, but they really didn't pay their electric bill. There's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of people who drive amazing cars, but live in a studio apartment and don't have, their basic needs met because the car was more important to them than their housing. So everybody has different priorities. Tracy said, I went to Italy this year. Oh, one of my favorite places. Planning to go to Greece in 2025. My goal is to go somewhere big every 2 years and continue to raise my 401k. That's amazing, Tracy. And I love that you're conscious of those goals and you will go to Greece in 2025 because you're planning for it and you're going to make it happen. And we can all make it happen. Like I said, if you have a big trip coming up, this is what I do. I don't know if it's, I'm not any kind of money guru, but if I have a big goal that seems, insurmountable and like, oh my gosh, I could never do that, I plan to do something that generates income that's just for that goal. So for instance, when I was in the salon, if I had a goal of a trip that I wanted to take with my kids, my kids joke about it to this day. They're 25 and 30. And if I say, I would love to rent a villa in Tuscany and have a pool and a chef and all these things and have the whole family. And my kids go, just add a day. That was our running joke because I would just add a day in the salon. And I would add a day, as many days as I had to add to hit that goal. So for instance, at the end of my career, I was working 3 days a week, 3 long ass days, 12-hour days, but 3 days a week. It was, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I think. I can't even remember, but just say it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I was working. So if we had a big vacation goal, I would take that amount of money the vacation was, say it was, $15,000 or whatever, divide that by the average amount that I can do in a day. So say it was $1,200 a day. I take $15,000 divided by 1,200. That tells me how many days I needed to add in whatever time frame I wanted to add it. And that's how many days I needed to add. And whatever those days were, that money went right to that. It didn't go to an electric bill. It didn't go to any regular savings. It was all like this money would not have happened had I not done this extra day. It's going to that. And it worked. And I always amortized everything. Again, I'm terrible at math, But I would say to my husband, oh my gosh, it's only, $30 a day. How can we say no to something that's only $30 a day? But you could say that about everything and you could have no money whatsoever. So definitely, being intentional about it and trying to save as much as possible. One of my biggest regrets as someone who is, 56 years old, not in the salon anymore, is not having a bigger cushion and savings. When we picked up and moved to another state, we moved to Florida. Neither of us had jobs lined up. I walked away from the salon. My daughter took over the salon. So here we are in another state. We're renting a house because we wanted to make sure that we liked it here enough to be able to buy something. And it was scary, but it was also so freeing to know that we were starting a brand new chapter and we could do anything. I could go work in a pizza shop or a flower shop or start a business on the beach or, at one point I was going to do like an Airstream and pull it up to the beach and do like beach balayage. I was like, yeah, that would not have been a good idea. It would have been cool and it would have made for great Instagram photos, but it would have been a lot of physical work and not a lot of profit. Um, so, where there's a will, there's a way. I always go by that motto because I have made things happen that people thought was absolutely impossible because I'm a little crazy. And I just say, why not? Why can this not happen? Like, I don't get it. When I see a cause that I believe in, I'm like, let's all get together and do this. I donated like 30 pairs of shears to Hair Aid. Hair Aid is a company that goes over to Cambodia and the Philippines and Bali and all of those countries, and they teach people that are coming out of sex slavery how to do a basic haircut to support themselves. That is on my bucket list of something that I want to do. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit nervous because when I reached out to the woman, I said, this is the year that I want to do Hair Aid for sure. Like I've been talking about it. Her and I have been in touch for years. I sent her all those scissors, but I said, this is the year I really want to do that. What do you have going on? And she said, oh, perfect timing. We have a project in January, which I could do. My January is open. We have a project in January, but we're going into the men's prison in the Philippines. And I was like, I'm not going to lie, that scares me. Like, there's a reason those people are in jail. And I don't know if that's safe. Like, I don't know. I don't know how it gives me that drop in my gut feeling, not an excited butterfly, like, oh God, I'm not ready for this. And there's part of me that's like, I'm always preaching that nothing good happens in the comfort zone, and that's not comfortable. I'm like, that's really not comfortable. Like getting on a plane, flying all the way to the Philippines by myself and going into a men's prison with a bunch of people I don't know to teach them haircuts. And you're going to laugh, but the bigger fear is I haven't cut hair in 20 years. I have been specializing in color for over 20 years. And the only scissors I pick up are my son and my husband. Like I don't even cut my daughter's hair, my sister's hair, my sister-in-law. Like that's it. I just cut two boys. And I mean, if I can't do that after 36 years in the industry, then I need to hang it all up. But I will do that at some point. I don't think I'm going to do the January. First of all, it's too soon for a trip like that. Like you need to get shots and you need to do all kinds of things. And that's just a little too much of a stretch, but I will go at some point. I'll pick a project that's maybe a little less scary, not in a prison. But even the whole sex trafficking thing scares me because I'm like, are we getting to them when they're still under the person that's controlling them, where I'm going to be getting lured into this world that I don't want to be a part of, or are they out of it? I don't know enough details, but if anybody is interested and wants to do it with me, I will do it at some point. Let me know. It could be fun to bring a crew over to the next project. I'm sure she would be very grateful for that. So that was a whole ADHD tear off on the subject. So when you fail to plan, you actually plan to fail. It's like a given. Like if you don't have any plan whatsoever, you're not going to see a lot of success. It takes a small bit of planning. It doesn't have to be spreadsheet, charts, PowerPoint presentation planning, not that type of planning, but actually being mindful of, I have a talk with myself when I'm on my morning beach walk. Some days I'm really craving that Starbucks and I'll take a longer walk and I'll walk to my Starbucks and then walk home from my Starbucks. And I I justify it as, well, I went on a longer walk, I got more exercise, but then I go to Starbucks and I'm spending $6 for a coffee I can get in my kitchen. So that's something that's a habit that I'm trying to break for the new year because, I have to just get a better coffee maker. Like it's because the coffee's better. Like my coffee at home just isn't strong enough. I don't enjoy it as much. And now I try to talk myself off the ledge and I only go to the Starbucks once a week on my walk. I'm like, okay, today's the day I can go get my Starbucks. But truth be told, I could, clothe someone in a foreign country for the amount of money I spend at Starbucks. So it's a habit that's not necessary. I could be putting that money into a savings account and that could be another vacation, if at the end of the year. So, are you saving at all? Are you putting any money aside? For me, what I love to do is have an automatic savings. So, I talked about American Express earlier. Again, I'm not really smart with money, but my dear friend Donna Rogio is. She does everything financial for the beauty industry. And she pointed out that there's a savings account. There are savings accounts that are high yield that give you way more of a percentage. So I'm getting just shy of 5% on my money in a savings account. So my mom gave me a gift for Christmas that was money. It went right into that account. Could I have gone and gotten that beautiful handbag or booked a trip or done something else and put it towards that? Absolutely. But I was like, you already learned your lesson that at 56, you can't retire and go off into the sunset. You didn't save enough. You went out to dinner too many times because you love food and you love going out to dinner. So I didn't save. So now I'm making up for lost time. And anytime I get my hands on any money, it goes right into that high yield savings account. And truth be told, I don't know how to get it out. Everything is online. So I know how to put it in, but I don't know how to get it out. And I'm going to keep it that way because I want to just keep it there. It's that rainy day fund that if a trip ever comes up and I don't have the money for it, I know that that emergency savings is there that I'm like, if I really, really want to go, I'll find a way to get that money out of there. So, tricking yourself almost. I remember my bank when I was in my 20s, they had something called a vacation club and a Christmas club. So, Lori, it is American Express. I have an American Express card. I don't know that you have to have an American Express card, but I think you can just do the savings. But if you go into American Express and look up high yield savings, there's also, many other plans, but that's through American Express. It's like 4 point something something. It's not exactly 5%, Melanie, but it's close. So the vacation club and the Christmas club, when I was in my 20s, I had my own salon. It was a small salon. It was in my neighborhood I grew up in. And I had to go to the bank anyway, because this is back in the Stone Age when you couldn't do things online. And I had to go and make a deposit. So I would take whatever percentage of my money from the salon and I would say, okay, put this much in the vacation club and put this much in the Christmas club. And it was a very, very low percentage rate, maybe like 2% interest or something. But the point was, it was a separate account that you never took money out until you met your goal. And then you took it out to spend it on what it was for: Christmas, for spending for other people, or vacation. They don't do that anymore because everybody's so savvy now with their money and they do all kinds of different funds and, Bitcoin and crypto and all these things. It's a lot different than, but the book Profit First takes it back to the old days where you had an envelope for this, an envelope for that. Like there was a girl that worked with me in my salon and she would always have all these little envelopes with names on them. And she would take her tip money and it would be first tip goes to electric bill, second tip like she had all her bills in envelopes and she would stuff the tip in that envelope. And I was like, seems a little barbaric, but it worked for her. She never had debt because she put, all the money in its little containers. And that's what Profit First is. So it's really much simpler than we make it out to be. But I think that we like to stay in our financial dysfunction and avoid. I've been an avoider of a lot of things. And that's one of the things that I've avoided. I always say, oh, I'm terrible at math. I don't understand money, blah, blah, blah. But when you understand, I don't know about you guys, but like this morning I'm on TikTok and this guy's on there and he's like, did you know that you can, put money in a tax-free, blah, 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 blah. And it's this whole tax advantage thing. And I'm like, these are things that I was never taught. And I know my parents, they have real estate and they have a lot of investments, but they were not well versed on financial structures of how to have, a trust and LLCs and have nothing in your name and all that stuff. They don't have any of that. And they could have saved a lot of tax money had they taken the time to be educated. So that's my goal for 2024. Other than the usual, I want to be better than I was this year, next year, and I want to make sure that I hit my goals with travel and my free time. Yes, Danielle just said there's a tax-free payroll for your kids if you own a salon. You can pay your children, I think it's up to $13,000 a year out of your salon, and they won't be taxed on it, and neither will you. So rather than pay it to the government, if you've had a really good year and you don't want to give that money away, give it to your kids and put it into an account with your name on it where they're not going to blow it on something silly. They'll actually have it when they get married or if they want to go to a certain college. But again, I'm sure Danielle will agree. Her and I are at an age where we didn't know that when we were in our 20s, and we wish that we did. We've both had salons for a long time now, and I didn't know that until maybe a year ago. So just being mindful, being intentional with your year. And there's no better time than now to start it. I'm actually attending tomorrow night with my coach. She does an event that's a reflection on 2023 and a plan and a inspiration for 2024. I forget what she calls it. She just texted me this morning and was saying, "You're coming, right?" And I said, "Absolutely. I love those kind of things." I think it's like best year. Let me see. I've got it for my brother and my girlfriend for Christmas because I love to motivate people to do things like that because it's amazing to have. Of course, I don't see the name of it, but you get the picture. If you're interested, reach out to me. I can get you the link. Very affordable. I think it was like $19 or $20. And you're on a Zoom call and she's going to prompt you with all these questions to really reflect on 2023, because how many of you will sit in your own house in a quiet space and go month by month through this past year and reflect on it? You're not going to. The big things are going to stick out. Like for me, I only remembered last Christmas because I had COVID. My kids were like, "What did we do last year?" I'm like, I was down for the count. I was sicker than I've ever been. I was under my Snuggie. I couldn't even sit with anybody. They had to give me my gift. I had to have a mask on, and then I had to come back in the other room and get away from everybody. So that's what stands out. And that's the only reason I remember that my daughter was in Florida for Christmas is because I had COVID. So we tend to have the negative things be the memory, which is sad because that stands out to us because it's traumatic. Whatever bad things happen, it's kind of like a scar or a scab that you can't forget. But sometimes we forget all the amazing good things that happened and don't reflect on those to do more of those for the coming year. So try to flip that switch in your mind of positivity, of growth, of if you don't have a coach of any kind, it doesn't have to be me. Of course, I would love for it to be me, but I'm a coach. I have a coach. My coach has a coach. All good athletes have coaches. I would not have done 32% more this year if I didn't have a brand new business coach that gave me strategies that I've never heard of in my life. And because I got those strategies from him, I'm able to share those strategies with my students and with my children. So they are doing things differently, all as a trickle down result of me stepping up and getting a coach and investing a lot of money in that coach. It was terrifying to hire this person. It was the most money. I could have bought a brand new car for what I spent for this coach. But when I do my numbers, I had enough to pay what I paid him, and I still had what's the word I'm looking for? An obvious difference in income, even after paying for him. And that's the goal. You want your coach to be able to push you to get you to another level and still be able to pay for them and not look at it as a negative expense. In the beginning, I was like, every time I made money, I was like, well, that goes to him. That goes to him. That goes to him. And it hurt. Trust me, it hurt because every time I would get an income, his bill would come. It's monthly and it would show up on my credit card. I'm like, shit, I am never going to get ahead if this keeps happening. But in the end, it all worked out. I had enough to pay him and I still was better than last year. And I know that next year is going to be even better because now I did the trust fall, right? I took the gamble by hiring him. It was really scary, but I was like, what's the worst that can happen? It's 1 year. If it's awful, oh well, it's like a bump in the road. I'll get up, I'll brush myself off, and I'll do something different and better and make up for it. Like you have to not be so terrified that you stay stuck. That's the worst thing you can possibly do. So I'm going to end this with, if you did not hit your numbers in your salon or behind your chair, whatever your situation is, and you know in your heart that the reason you did not hit those numbers is because you could stand to learn a little bit more about hair color, and specifically, I don't teach extensions, I don't teach perms, I don't teach relaxers. God forbid I teach updos. I am all color and the business of color. So if you know in your heart that you're not as confident as you would like to be, and there's room for growth, hair color is a very lucrative segment of our industry. It is the reason that our salon has been successful and has increased every single year. We're celebrating, one of our staff members is celebrating 20 years with us. I am so proud to say that because we all know our industry, everybody jumps all over. The grass is always greener. They're always looking for the next thing. But we have longevity. You know, the people that work with us are there for a long time because we make sure that they're taken care of. We make sure that they have a great income and that we're always looking out for them. So if you know you have more in you than you've been putting out and your hair color is just okay, if you see someone in the grocery store and you see their hair and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that, step up and get yourself a coach. If not me, someone else. But don't keep hiding behind the I know enough. A lot of people, you know, when I do my workshops, they'll be like, oh, that's probably stuff I already know. And then day one in the workshop, they're like, they have the mind blown emoji and they're like, I stand corrected. I did not know. I did not know that it was the power of the tube and the alkalinity versus the volume of developer. I did not know that pre-softening gray is all nonsense with developer. Developer can't pre-soften or do anything. It's acidic. All those things that, you know, I take for granted and I blurt out like I just did. Other people are like, wait, what? What are you saying? What? How have I even been coloring hair? And I'm thinking, I don't know. How have you? I want to see your clients. So, you know, give yourself the gift of education, whether it be taking on a new service like extensions, or, you know, we do a really fun conditioning treatment that's unique and different that clients love. And we charge like $50 for it. Like add something to your toolbox and your menu that, number one, it's going to inspire you to do something differently. That's what happens. When you add something, you feel like this brand new stylist. I know that's how I feel. When I go to an education event, I come back so fired up. I remember when I first learned open air balayage, I wanted to balayage everybody. I wanted to balayage corrective color. I wanted to balayage dark brunettes. I wanted to balayage the blondorexic blondes. Not a good idea, guys. Don't do it. Not everyone is a candidate for open air balayage for sure, especially those dark brunettes. So I am so grateful for, you know, the people that are on here right now that I see: Tammy, Claire, Felix. I see a bunch of my members. I love you guys. I'm so grateful for you. Carmen, Lori, Melanie, Ida, Gail. Thank you for trusting in me to be your coach. I've had an amazing year with all of you. I wake up every morning thinking, how can I make this membership even better? What can I do new, better, different? How can I serve? How can I bring them an amazing retreat in April? I'm working on that right now. So I am always thinking about how to be better, how to do better, and how to enjoy these laps around the sun that we all take and we all take for granted. So it's not the amount of years that you have left, it's the amount of times that you find joy and get to spend it with people that you love. Because those years are flying by, whether we like it or not. So take the time to really make it count. You know, make those bucket lists, but don't just talk about it, make it happen. Thanks for listening. Have an amazing week. You know, you're still going to be busy up until that New Year's Eve mark, and then you can breathe a little bit. So hang in there, hydrate, do all the things we talked about last week, and I will see you next week.